guys, I'm the Gamer here and I'm back with another collection video, and today guys I'm going to be doing a very special collection video. At least this is going to be special to me. It's going to be quite an unusual game collection video because instead of showing off all the games I have for a specific series or for a specific platform, today I'm going to be showing off all the games, and I do mean all of them, all the games made by my #1 favourite game developer of all time, Neversoft Entertainment. Yes, what you're seeing right here is actually a complete Neversoft collection. This is every single game the studio ever made, from 1996 with Skeleton Wars up here, all the way down to 2013 with Call of Duty Ghost right at the bottom. Now, Neversoft is the studio most famous for obviously making the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series and later on the Guitar Hero series. Of course, they made the first 9 games in the Tony Hawk series, from Pro Skater in 1999 all the way up to Proving Ground in 2007. And then they took over the Guitar Hero series. Originally, Guitar Hero was made by Harmonix, but once they moved on to do like Rock Band and stuff, Neversoft eventually took over that franchise, and then they would go on to release pretty much all the rest of the Guitar Hero games, from Guitar Hero 3 in 2007 all the way up to Warriors of Rock in 2010. Basically all the remaining Guitar Heroes up until the latest one, Guitar Hero Live, which was made by a completely different studio, Freestyle Games. Yes, that's what they're mainly known for. They're mainly known for the Tony Hawk series. They were the ones who created it and made some of the best fucking games of all time. You know, Pro Skater 2 is like, what, the second highest rated game in Metacritic's history. And yeah, like those games need absolutely no introduction, you know. And not to mention, they made some of the best Guitar Hero games. I mean, Guitar Hero 3, their first Guitar Hero, is often considered to be the best in the franchise, and I believe even the best-selling one as well. In fact, that game was, I believe, the first game in history to make like over $1 billion in sales. That game was a huge smash hit when it came out. But while they're best known for Tony Hawk and Guitar Hero, Neversoft have done a whole bunch of things over their 20-year history. They made other games such as SpiderMan for the PlayStation, which was the first ever 3D Spider-Man game ever created, long before even the Treyarch movie games. They also made Apocalypse as well, which was one of the early twin-stick shooters for the original PlayStation. They also as well created one of the very first open-world Western games with Gun back in 2005. And they would also later on, before the studio shut down in 2014, they would also have some experience with the Call of Duty franchise as well, mainly just to help out with just some extra modes, like for example in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, did you know that Neversoft actually made the Survival Chaos mode in Spec Ops in that game? And in Call of Duty Ghost, they also developed the Extinction mode, which was basically that game's equivalent of zombies. And so yeah, that's just kind of a very, very brief history of Neversoft and like the games they made. It's a shame that they no longer exist. Like I said earlier, they were shut down in 2014. Shortly after they worked on Call of Duty Ghost, they got merged into Infinity Ward to create a super studio, as they called it at the time. And yeah, then shortly thereafter, a lot of some of the original members left, like Joel DeWitt, who was the president of Neversoft throughout its entire existence. Shortly left right after the Infinity Ward merger. But anyway, so with that long introduction out the way, let's just get to the main point of the video and the reason why you're here, the game collection itself. Now, of course, I put them all in order from oldest to newest, and that's the order I'm going to show you guys. Now, do keep in mind, I do actually have technically a lot more Neversoft games, like with the Tony Hawk games. I own many, many different versions of all of those. But for the sake of this video, I'm only going to be showing just one version of each game. So some of these games I do also own for other platforms, but I'm only just going to be showing just like my main version of each one, like the main one I play pretty much. So yeah, so let's get started. So let's start things off with, of course, Neversoft's very first game. Here we have Skeleton Warriors for the original PlayStation. This game was a 2D side-scroller, sort of hack and slash, beat 'em up for the original PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. It came on the Saturn first in 1996 and then was later ported to the PlayStation. And yeah, unfortunately I've only got a disc-only copy of this, but yeah, this game was based off a short-lived animated TV series from the 90s of the same name, Skeleton Wars. And yeah, it's a fairly obscure game, but quite decent actually. You know, it's got like the pre-rendered 3D graphics. The whole game's in 2D, but it has those pre-rendered 3D graphics that were quite popular back then. You know, you would see on games like Donkey Kong Country or Vector Man or Super Mario RPG, you know, that sort of style. But yeah, I really wish my copy had a case, but unfortunately I just got the disc only. I got an insane deal on this, by the way. Usually this game is expensive as fuck. It's like a 40 to 50 quid game. At least the PAL version is complete in box, but I was only able to get it just disc only for £8.50, which was a huge insane deal considering how much this game usually goes for. But yeah, there it is, Skeleton Warriors for PS1. And next up we have an interesting one. Now this game is only technically a Neversoft game, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. MDK, also for the original PlayStation. Now, MDK wasn't actually made by Neversoft, it was made by Shine Entertainment, the developers behind Earthworm Jim and some other games, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But this particular version of the game for the PS1 was actually made by Neversoft. Neversoft were tasked of porting this game over from the PC to the PlayStation. And yeah, and this was the only time they did that. This was the only time Neversoft ported over someone else's game onto another platform. And yeah, so here it is, MDK, PS1, it is complete. It even comes with the original poster as well. It's pretty cool. There's the manual, of course the disc. So yeah, I haven't actually played this game yet. I've owned it for a few months now, and yeah, I just haven't even got the time to even put in my system and test out. But yeah, there's that. And then next up we have Neversoft's second proper game that they made, and their first 3D game, Apocalypse, starring Bruce Willis. Now this game is interesting for a whole lot of reasons. If it wasn't for this game, we would have never gotten Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, because this was also the game that saved Neversoft, because at the time when they were working on this, they were actually like struggling like financially. Like the company was just bleeding money because they were working on multiple projects all at the same time, and all of which kept getting cancelled. Like for example, they were working on a Ghost Rider game for Crystal Dynamics that never got released, and they were also going to make their own new IP called Big Guns that got bought by Sony, renamed to Exodus, and that also as well got cancelled. But yeah, so at the start of like 1998 or so, like Neversoft were this close to going under, but ultimately Activision would save them because they would give them the task of finishing Apocalypse, which originally was an in-house project at Activision that was in development hell for quite a while, and Neversoft were then tasked of finishing the game, and yeah, and then they eventually released it at the end of 1998. So yeah, this is a 3D twin stick shooter starring, of course, Bruce Willis, and yeah, this is complete as well. The manual there and the disc. Yeah, this is a really damn fun game. You know, I don't think this was the first ever twin stick shooter, but it was definitely one of the first ones on consoles, because this came out pretty much at the same time as the DualShock controller for the original PlayStation. So yeah, this was one of the few games to take advantage of it. But yeah, but this game was important because shortly after Apocalypse came out, Activision requested Neversoft to develop a prototype for a skateboarding game, and I think we all know where this is going. That prototype would ultimately become their biggest and most famous game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, or Tony Hawk's Skateboarding as it's known in Europe. Yes, if it wasn't for Apocalypse, Pro Skater would have never existed, because it was Activision that requested Neversoft to make a prototype of a skateboarding game after they were impressed with their work on Apocalypse. So yeah, so this was the game that obviously, you know, this game needs no introduction. I mean, it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the first game in the series. I mean, what do I need to say, really? I mean, what hasn't been said about this game at this point, you know? The original Pro Skater, absolute classic game. Once again, got it complete. I did a whole Tony Hawk collection video back in June, so if you want to check that out, you know, it's up on my channel. I'll probably put a link to it at the end of this video. I'll go see that. But yeah, and the next game here is, this one's quite interesting for a lot of reasons. SpiderMan for the original PlayStation. Now, I was talking about this earlier. This game is often known as Spider-Man 2000 because, you know, it was released in 2000, and there's many different games just called Spider-Man, so yeah, that's why this one's called Spider-Man 2000. This right here was the very first 3D Spider-Man game ever made. Literally the first one. Neversoft were the first to do it. Before Insomniac, before even Treyarch, you know, Neversoft were the first ones to tackle Spider-Man in 3D. And yeah, they made a fantastic game out of it. I love this game. You know, Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero. Yeah, and this is my favorite Spider-Man game. You know, I like this more than even the Treyarch ones. You know, I absolutely love this game. The soundtrack's brilliant in this. Soundtrack's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there's the disc and the manual. Yeah, this as well as a Pro Skater were also later ported to other consoles by other developers. Like for example, Edge of Reality ported both games over to Nintendo 64, and Treyarch ported them both over to the Sega Dreamcast. But yeah, but Neversoft only made the PlayStation versions, like of this and Pro Skater 1, you know, Neversoft only made the PlayStation versions. All the other ports were handled by the developers. And then moving on, we have Neversoft's final original PlayStation game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This is just barely their last game, because this game actually came out the same month as SpiderMan, but it came out a little bit later. Like SpiderMan came out, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe SpiderMan was released September 1st, 2000, and then Pro Skater 2 came out September 20th. So yeah, so it's only just like a few weeks newer than Spider-Man. In fact, to promote Spider-Man 2000, they actually put Spider-Man as a playable character in Pro Skater 2, and then in Spider-Man, in one of the cutscenes, and I believe even in game as well, there's like some billboards with the Pro Skater 2 logo on it. So yeah, so like both games were sort of like advertisements for each other. But yeah, again, Pro Skater 2, like I mentioned earlier, second highest rated game on Metacritic. Needs no introduction. I mean, this is arguably the best game for the original PlayStation, you know, it's an absolute masterpiece. Yeah, sure, if you play it now, it is definitely dated, especially when after like playing the remake and stuff, but like, yeah, got to complete as well. It's still a fantastic game, you know, soundtrack is still brilliant, you know, gameplay is brilliant, it's just amazing, you know. Of course, the introduction of the manual in the series, and yeah, again, what else do I need to say? You know, it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, for God's sake. What else do I need to say? Alright, so that was every Neversoft game made for the original PlayStation. Now moving on to the PlayStation 2, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, my #1 favourite game of all time. I've mentioned that several times before in previous videos. But yeah, I do also own this for the Xbox and the GameCube, the PS1 even, and the GBA. But yeah, for the sake of this video, I'm only going to be showing just my main version of the game, which is the PS2. Yeah, there it is, disc and manual. Yeah, and then we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. This game only recently just turned 20, like a few days ago, as I'm recording this. This game just had its 20th anniversary. So yeah, there it is. Disc and manual. This was the last Pro Skater game that Neversoft would make, because after this, Neversoft would move on to the Underground series, starting with, of course, Tony Hawk's Underground in 2003. This was the first story-based Tony Hawk game. First one to have a story, the first one you can get off your board and stuff. Again, another absolutely fantastic game. All the Tony Hawk games made by Neversoft are fantastic, every single one of them. Then we have the game's sequel, Tony Hawk's Underground 2. That's complete as well. I think all these games are complete, but I'm still going to show you the disc and manual. Alright, and then moving on to the Xbox 360, which all the rest of these are on the Xbox 360. Again, these are in order from oldest to newest. So we have Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, which was a launch title on the Xbox 360. There it is. Then we have Gun. Now Gun is another interesting game because this was a third-person Western shooter long before Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of open world, but kind of isn't at the same time. I mean, it has like a hub world, but it isn't really like properly open world. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, it's kind of open world, but it isn't. But yeah, Gun, absolutely fantastic game. Absolutely fucking fantastic game. I like this more than even Red Dead Revolver, which came out around about the same time. This is one of my all-time favourite games. I fucking love Gun. It's such a good game. If you haven't played it, you know, I highly recommend you do. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as, say, like Red Dead Redemption 2, but still, like, for the time in which it came out, it's fucking fantastic. Yeah, Tony Hawk's Project A is the first Tony Hawk game developed specifically for the 7th gen consoles. There were 6th gen ports of this, but those were handled by Sharper Games. Neversoft only developed the 7th gen versions of this game for 360 and PS3. It was a launch title for PS3. And then we have the final Tony Hawk game developed by Neversoft, Proving Ground. Which plays very similarly to Project 8. They went for a more realistic approach with the last two games. Obviously not like a simulation like with Skate, but a lot more realistic than, say, like the past games, like the Underground games and stuff. But yeah, As you can see on the front, this game also includes a demo for Guitar Hero 3, which leads us in to Neversoft's first Guitar Hero game, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. Again, another legendary game that needs no introduction. I mean, it's Guitar Hero 3 for God's sake, you know. I'm pretty sure everyone and their nan's played this game at least once in their life. But yeah, there it is. I only just got this recently, actually, on my birthday at CEX. But yeah, that's complete. And then, of course, after that, you know, once this game came out, Neversoft were officially done with the Tony Hawk series, and they would exclusively, for the next few years, only make Guitar Hero games. So after Guitar Hero 3, the next one they would release is Guitar Hero Aerosmith, which, despite being named after, you know, just one band, does actually have more songs on the soundtrack from other artists other than just Aerosmith. But yeah, and it does also include the Run DMC cover of Walk This Way. But yeah, that's that. And then we have what would have been Guitar Hero 4, but they didn't call it Guitar Hero 4, it's called Guitar Hero World Tour instead. But this is the fourth mainline game in the series. This was the first one they introduced like drums and like microphone stuff. There it is. Alright, and then we have another band-themed Guitar Hero game, Guitar Hero Metallica. Again, it does include more songs on the soundtrack from other artists aside from Metallica, but of course Metallica has, you know, it is their game, it is their Guitar Hero game, so of course they're going to have the most songs out of all the artists. But yeah, there's a poster that came with. Now we have Guitar Hero 5 right here. I don't really have anything to say about the remaining Guitar Hero games because I haven't even played any of these. You know, I got these solely for the collection. So yes, that's why I'm going through them pretty quickly because I just don't have anything to say because I haven't even played these games yet. We've got Band Hero, which was basically Guitar Hero's attempt of a rock band. I mean, they literally had, you know, band in the name. There it is. And then their final Guitar Hero game that they would ever make would be Warriors of Rock in 2010. This would also be Neversoft's last game they solely developed on their own. I mean, technically Call of Duty Ghost here, which we'll talk about in a minute, was their last game. This was the last game they developed solely on their own, you know. Ghost, they only helped out just to make one mode. But yeah, there it is. Neversoft's true last game, this was. Alright, and then last but not least, we have Call of Duty Ghost. It's only technically counts as a Neversoft game. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, you know, this game was primarily made by Infinity Ward with some help from like Raven Software and stuff. But like you can see that logo right there, Neversoft did have some involvement with this game. They made the Extinction mode, and that was about it. They did the Extinction mode, and that was literally it. Infinity Ward and Raven handled the rest of the game. But yeah, there it is. I do also have this for the PS4 as well. But yeah, there you have it, guys. That is literally it. That is every single game made by my favourite game company, Neversoft. And in fact, I'll show you in a minute to show you how much of a Neversoft fanboy I am. I actually own a black t-shirt in my wardrobe with the Neversoft logo on it that I got for Christmas one year. I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, I absolutely love this studio. You know, I love their games, every single one of them. Well, at least the ones I've played, you know. I haven't played all of them, even though I own all of them. But yeah, but still, Neversoft made some of the fucking best games I've ever played in my life, you know. Some absolute phenomenal games back in the PS1 and PS2 era and early on the 360 life. But yeah, and I'll just quickly show you guys. In fact, I'll move the camera just a little bit so you guys can see this better. But yeah, in my wardrobe, I own a Neversoft t-shirt. Yes. This came from redbubble.com. I got this for Christmas one year. And yeah, it's a black t-shirt with the Neversoft logo on it. Like, how fucking sick is that? Yeah, I kind of wish I should have worn this actually, like, while recording this video. But yeah, so if this doesn't prove how much of a Neversoft fanboy I am, then I don't know what does. You know, I literally have their logo on a fucking t-shirt. But yeah. So anyway, guys, there you have it. That is probably the first ever, in fact it is the first ever, complete Neversoft collection video. Like ever, like no one's ever done this before. I don't even know if anyone else on the planet even owns a complete Neversoft game collection. At least I haven't seen any, like online, so if I'm the first, then you know, that's pretty neat. But yeah, so they have it, every single game made by Neversoft, ever. Although I do want to quickly show you just a few honourable mentions, because these technically count as well. Neversoft did have some very small involvement with these other two COD games, Modern Warfare 3 and Advanced Warfare. I believe in Modern Warfare 3 they did the, what was it, like the Chaos mode or something in Spec Ops. They did some sort of thing in Spec Ops in Modern Warfare 3, and in Advanced Warfare they apparently, like, they're listing the credits for like additional help or something. So yeah, but these don't actually have, like, if you look on the back, they don't have a Neversoft's logo on it. But apparently, from what I've heard online, Neversoft did have some small input in both of these games. But yeah, but it was like very minor stuff, like a single mode in Modern Warfare 3 and some additional help in Advanced Warfare. Apparently they worked on these two games in some way. But yeah, so yeah, guys, there you have it. Let me know down in the comment section, like, what's your favorite Neversoft game? You know, like, do you own all these games? I'd love to know. Like, do you own every single one of these games? Do you also have a complete Neversoft collection? If so, I'd love to see it. But yeah. But anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, please like, subscribe, and peace, and I'll see you guys in the next one.